All right. And I am recording now. And I also need to share my screen. I'm just going to share the whole screen. So as I've mentioned before, when I'm sharing my screen, I have a really tough time seeing anything in the chat. So if you need to stop me and ask questions, please unmute yourselves if you would, or if you're unable to unmute yourself, put something in the chat and ask someone else to unmute themselves and get with me. Okay. All right, so we're going to look at Grasshopper, and as I was saying, this is a feature. It's kind of an advanced feature that we find in Rhino. It's been with Rhino since it's been a part of Rhino since version 6. Before that, it was a plugin that you had to install. But even so, what's interesting about Grasshopper is that you can use it to create scripts. I think I've demonstrated a little bit of record history with some of you about how you can create something like a surface. And then if you have record history on, you can go back and edit the curves that were used to make that surface, and then the surface will update. Well, Grasshopper is like record history, only it's explicit. And you can go back and change parts of things and it will update. And it won't actually create geometry in Rhino until you tell it to. It's called baking. But I'm just going to give you a real quick run through. I'm actually going to do the demo, or I'm actually going to demonstrate the exercise that is due this week so that you are able to go ahead and watch the video and do this, or you can just follow the directions. But because Grasshopper is a slightly different interface than Rhino, I thought that it would be more advantageous for you guys if I gave you a demo. So when you first start Grasshopper, and let me, I have the window up now, I'm going to close that. All right, so when you first start Grasshopper, and I'm going to full size my, it's this little button here. You could also just go to the command line and type in Grasshopper, and it will bring up this window. And what you have in the middle here, and I can make this a little bit bigger. What comes up when you first open Grasshopper, this is like recent files that you've had or suggestions. Actually, this is suggestions and on different definitions. They call it a definition when you use these different parameters to create a script. So, and this is recent files that I've been using, and so I'm going to actually not use any of them. But what we're going to do instead is we're going to go through and use the piece from the exercises in chapter 16, and this is the manual level 1. So they talk about the Grasshopper interface. Here's the Grasshopper canvas, and this is where you drag things onto here. You can either do it from here, you can double click and just start typing. Let's say we want to bring in a circle. I start to type circle. And there we go. I can just double click on that. So in other words, you can create a command line anywhere that you double click on the canvas. There, I just brought up a number, and numbers. Well, anyway, you can play with these. But notice you see this little orange box here. That means that there is no. It's a warning. It means that there's no input or output. It doesn't have any data. I didn't tell it what that number is. Over here, this is also a circle. It's a different circle than what I have here. This is also a circle. Let's take a look over here in our Rhino window that I have open at the same time. And we'll notice over here that there is some geometry showing in Rhino because I pulled down this circle. I'm going to take this and just delete it. I'm clicking on it. It's selected when it's green. Okay. So here I have a circle. And it looks like the radius of this circle is 1 inch. Let's see what, so that's just, I'm not going to start on the definition yet, but that is one of the things that we'll be using in the definition for Grasshopper. I'll leave it there so that you can see that we've got things on the Rhino canvas as well. So you see here that there are categories and subcategories. We have these tabs along the top. And each of these tabs relate to a whole series of, these are categories, these are subcategories. So parameters are functions that we use to either create or manipulate geometry. So this is a point. If I want to have a point, I can drag that, and right now that point, it doesn't know where to be. So that's why it's got a, it doesn't know where it is. So delete. We're not going to use it right now. Again, we've got this, when I select that, you see how this turns green, and you see how what is going on in Rhino also turns green. But so we have parameters, we have math. Math is ways of manipulating the numbers. I mean, as I've probably said it a number of times, is that what we have going on in Rhino is actually math. We have, Rhino and your computer keep track of where all these various points are and create the geometry between them. They create lines, curves, and surfaces, and then surfaces become solids, and it's all math behind everything here. So sometimes you want to manipulate that math to cause different things. Then there's different ways of grouping things into sets. There's different vector functions, which is where you tell your geometry where it's at. For instance, planes, we've talked about construction planes. This will tell you what planes you can put your geometry on. Curves, we have all different kinds of curve functions, because as we found in, in the progression of lessons that we've gone through in Rhino, we start with curves, and then we create surfaces, and we could take the surfaces and join them for solids, or we could take surfaces and create solids, or we could take curves and create solids. We've done that with extruding. So you have a lot of different curve functions here. Surfaces, again, it's the same sort of thing. We can create surfaces. We also have mesh. There's various ways of manipulating mesh. Intersections, where things intersect one another. There are functions that can happen from that. You can pull curves from objects, those sorts of things. You can see, so here we are. We've got all that. Transform, that's very similar to a lot of the functions we've been using. You've got things like bend and mirror and, orient. We've talked about some of these functions. Stretch. Twist. I know there are some of you using stuff like that. Display is where we could tell it to be different colors. And Kangaroo is actually kind of a mesh renderer, I believe. I haven't actually used Kangaroo, but so that's a basic. And then you can see that we have subsets, and these are, so you don't have to work here by pulling these into the canvas. You can also just, like I said, if you know what your function is, you can double click and start typing, for instance, mirror. Okay, if you wanted to mirror a curve or mirror a surface or just mirror an object, you could put that there. But it needs some input. So for instance, I could take this. Now here's where Grasshopper starts to get interesting, is that you connect these various functions, and you see that, I've just put the geometry into here, but it needs to, it needs a little more input. Okay. In that, let's see what we've got here. Does it have a mirror? Oh yeah, it looks like it's mirroring right down the middle. So let's mirror, okay, input plane. Where's the plane that it uses? It looks like the plane is just that one. So we could go to vector, we could pull down X, Y, let's see, a 3-point plane. We could totally put that plane here. We'd have to put some points in here. perhaps we'd put them 1, 2, and 3. Enter. So there's oh no, that isn't totally what I wanted. And what I'm going to do here is just pull these over to approximately here, and I'm going to make that plane. I'm going to set one point here, that point, and we're going to set this point here. And you can see when they're in Grasshopper because, and then we're going to set that point. All right, so that's a plane there. And now we're going to put that plane in. Oh, it doesn't like that. Doesn't like that plane. Okay, we're going to delete that plane and just go with a, what do we got here? Let's use a ZY plane or YZ. Okay. And in the meantime, I'm going to get rid of these points here. So let's see, where's our other, so this geometry output is, we mirrored that circle. And let's see where we're at. Oh, yeah, I just realized. Let's hide this guy. We're going to hide our first circle. And the way we do that is we click with our middle mouse button, and I'm going to turn on the blinds. Oh, look, there's, so that's what it did. It just moved it there. Let's move our, let's add a number. Or wait, there's a way to move things over. Okay, well, we won't worry about that right now. But see, because we mirrored it, we actually now have 2 circles. So that's why we hid this one. Anyway, I'm going to delete all that. This is just where I'm trying to get you familiar with how things work over here and what you can do where. Right, we're going to move that over. So we've got categories, subcategories. We've got the Grasshopper canvas here that we can zoom in and out. It gets very large, and you can actually navigate to the back of it here. It tells you where the origin point is. And okay. But you move it around just like you do with the Rhino. You can hold down the Shift key and right click and drag. So there are different settings. If you go to the File menu and go to Preferences, okay. So it says to choose interface. Yeah, the whole thing with younger users, you guys are all adults, so some of them are a little funny. I don't know that they're necessarily adult. They worry about their humor. Okay, and then there's the obscure components. I think is really a good idea, because then that way you see as many components as you possibly can. We got icons and fancy wires. That's under the display. Basically, interface. Viewport widgets. I don't know what widgets I've got. So, and then I did talk about the canvas search feature where you just double click on the canvas. And then there's also a finder. So when you're in Grasshopper and you have a, and if you have a definition up, but you can't remember where it comes from, let's say we've got, you know, this, and oh my goodness, that's like huge. I zoomed way out. Let's go into here. All right. So if I go to parameters and I pull down a, you know, this circle, and I can't remember where this came from because I was over here playing with surfaces and trying to figure out with, you know, maybe I wanted to do a extrusion or something. Let me see, freeform, that's extrude. and I wanted to extrude the circle and, you know, that kind of stuff I'm trying to figure out. And I'm not sure, but what you can do is you can go Control and Alt and click on something. That's how. Control Alt and then the left mouse button. I know this works. I've done this before. Control Alt, and see how when you hold down the button, it tells you what tab, and it shows these little red arrows. I think that's pretty cool. I like that. So now we've got the bicycle wheel. Let's go through this. Now remember, I am recording this, but has anybody got any questions in the meantime? Okay, I'm gonna put the thumbnail back on. All right. This is gonna be tricky because I gotta have three windows up at once. So we've got a new document, and you know we already did that, so I know that. Yeah, here we go. All right, so first thing we're going to do, we're going to go to the curve tab, and we're going to on the primitive panel, we're going to get a basic circle, and we're going to drag two of them, 1 and 2. All right. And now we can see over here, we're just going to work in the top viewport for now so we can see it a little better. This is my Rhino window. So one thing that you may ask is that you actually need 2 separate files. When I save this, I have to save my Grasshopper file as one file and my Rhino file as another. Unless everything lives in the Grasshopper file, in which case I can just open up the Grasshopper file, but we're not going to go there right now. Then we're going to put numbers next to that. I'm going to double click on the panel and I'm going to type in number. All right. And so with the number slider, I'm going to drag the output over to the radius of that circle. All right. And then I'm going to go edit the number slider. What have they got there? Oh, now we got to do this. And we'll go down here and we can either set the number or we can do multiple numbers. Okay, set the number. Hold on, let's look at the expression. Now, come on. Drag the output. Now drag the slider. Oh, we didn't do a slider. Oh, I just realized that. Why didn't it do a slider? It said a numeric slider, not just a number. Let's delete that. So if I double click and I type in numbers to start with, I'm going to go 1 dot dot 2.5. Not comma, 0.5 dot dot 5. Okay, so what I get there, double click, 1 dot dot, enter. Okay, so here's my numeric slider. And if I double click on this part, there's where I have my, we're going to rename this while we're at it. And we're going to call this inside hub, because this is going to be the inside of our piece. Right now, it starts at 1. It ends at 2, that's the maximum, and the range is just 1, because between 2 minus 1 is only 1. So we want to change this. We want to make that go up to 5. And okay. And the range is then going to change to 4. Let's hit OK. So that's the inside hub. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag and tap the Alt key. Remember, I've been showing you guys that with Gumball. And now we're going to rename this, and we're going to call this outside rim. And this we're going to change to, we're going to double click, and we're going to make this 35. This could be a big one. But actually, let's double click on that again, because I just realized we don't want that to be as small as 1. We want the minimum on that to be bigger than the inside hub. So the inside hub, the biggest is 5. Here we're going to make this, what numbers are they suggesting here? So click on the canvas, make it, this says 24, 32, 36. Okay, so they don't want it to be smaller than 24. I'm going to make this one 20. Okay, so it starts at 20. And we're going to put that one here on our second one, on our second. This guy we're going to put here on this. And now let's take a look at our canvas here. Oh my goodness, yeah, one of them is really big and one of them is much smaller. Let's see here. Double click on the radius of the first number slider, and they're saying set the minimum to 1 and the maximum to 10. Let's do that. That does seem very small, comparatively speaking. Okay, so now we can drag that one up. See how this updates in real time? I can change this to bigger, smaller. I think I'd like the smallest part of this to be actually a little smaller than the 20. Let's go with 15. And then to 35. So there we are. We can do that. We can make this a little bigger. We can make that a little smaller. Okay, so that's what we've got there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to figure out where the spokes are going to go. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to divide the circle. So we've got a tab under curve that says division. And if I hit that arrow, I get a whole list of our sub stuff. And what we want is the divide curve. We're going to drag that over here. And I'm going to move my panel over. And the divide curve, I'm actually going to use 2 of them. All right. And I've got 2 of them. And so the output circle curve, we're going to send that to the divide curve. We're going to do it to here too. So it looks like the, if I hover over this, it starts out, the default value for the division is 10. So right now, each of these is divided into 10. And we can see that there. But we're going to change it. We're going to put a number slider here. That is, what did they say? 5, 10, 20. Okay. 5 ... 10 ... 20. Okay, so when I do that, when I type in 3 numbers with 2 dots in between each, it creates a numeric slider where the minimum is my first number, the maximum is my third number, and where it starts is the middle number. So I did 5 ... 10 ... 20. So should I do 2? But actually what I can do instead is I can make sure that these both have the same number all the time by dragging it from one to the other. So now we have these 2 curves are both divided by the same amount. But in the meantime, you know, I can still go back and change the size of these, right? This is the great thing about Grasshopper, honestly. How much fun is this? So after we do that, we want to create these spokes. And so what we're going to do here is we are going to put a line from the curve tab and the primitive. We're going to take a line and put it down here. And we're going to take the points from one end, this is the start point, and the points from the other wheel as the end. And you see now we have these spokes. I can change how many. I can change how big my hubs are. And I can also, you know, yeah. So this is like pretty cool. So what else can we do with Grasshopper that we could do in Rhino? Well, let's pipe the curves. Well, you guys have used pipe. That's a very fun way of creating a solid from a curve. So under the surface tab and freeform, we're going to, let's pull down on that, although we can see it right here, pipe. We're going to drag that to here. And we're going to put that line into the curve, and there we have pipes. But what other things do you think we can control about a pipe? Well, whether or not we have caps. Let's take a look at that first. So if we hover over that, we get some more information. So it says the types of caps are 0 is none, 1 is flat, and 2 is round. So let's put a numeric slider here, and we're going to go 0, ... 1, ... 2. Okay, and now you can see that it's 0, 1, and 2 are our only options. We're going to, actually, let's double click on that, and we're going to say cap option is what we're going to call that function. We're going to say, okay, put that there. Right now it's on 2, so we have round caps. If we change it to 1, we have flat caps, and we can probably see that by going into the, we'll pull over Rhino a little, over here in the perspective viewport. Pretty cool, huh? And let's go back to top. All right, and so the other thing that we can change is the radius of our radius of the pipes. So let's double click again and get another one. And let's see what they recommend. 0.5. Create a slider by typing 0.5, greater than 1, greater than 3. Okay. Greater than 1, greater than 3. Enter. Oh, that didn't work. Let's just do a regular 0.5 ... So by putting in an integer, or not an integer, a floating point number, we're going to get floating point numbers. And let's make this 1 and ... 3. Enter. Okay, we're going to do that. I'm going to put that in the radius. And now we should be able to change our radius. Okay, you can see here, we can go all the way up to 3 inches. We can go all the way down to 1/2 inch. All right, so there's our, and we're going to call this spoke radius. Okay. So what else do you think we'd do next? Any suggestions, anybody? Thoughts? All right, well, the next thing we're going to do is we'll obviously pipe our, we're going to pipe our wheels themselves. So we're going to go pull that pipe down. Actually, what we can do is we can grab this and this and drag them, tap Alt, and we've got copies. We do want to disconnect that. Wait a minute, I think it's Control. There we go. All right, we use the Control tab here. Or Control and now. So what we could do here is we've got now the same radius, and we're going to change this. We're going to make it wheel radius. Wheel radius, and we're going to hit OK. And we're going to have that circle go into here. And then we're going to hold down the Shift key, and we're going to take this circle and put it into here, but hold down the Shift key so we have 2 inputs. Now we can see that we can change the wheel, the wheel thickness actually is what that should be, not the radius. The radius is usually the measurement of the thing itself. Wheel thickness. Okay, can't just hit enter there. All right, so look what we've got here. We've got a bike wheel. And we have all these different options for it. Okay, so here's our end. The end surfaces are really all that we want to display. So we're going to take all of these parameters and select them and push down on our middle mouse button, and we're going to choose the blindfold guy, which means that they're not previewed. So now we don't see those curves or points anymore. The next thing that we can do is we can orient this as well. And what is what are they using? The XZ plane, so that we could see it in the other viewport. So under the plane tab, or wait, we got vectors, we've got planes, and connect each plane output from the X. Okay, so plane, we're going to go with XZ right here, and we're going to move that over here. We're going to move that to that one. Oh, and isn't that interesting? Look at that. So I just told the one to go in a different plane than the others. So see how that went? That's actually kind of cool, huh? All right, well, we're going to take this plane and we're also going to move it on the other guy. And now the whole thing is in that orientation. Instead of being flat on the top viewport, we can look at this in the front viewport now. Okay, so that's pretty much what you have to do for this exercise. I think that they also get into color. You can totally do that if you want. I'm not going to continue this demo too much further, but I think you get the idea. You know, we can pull down the color, which you find under the display. Actually, under the parameters is where you can set some color too. Is it this one? Color swatch. Yeah, use that. And with color swatch, let me show you how you. If you double click on the color side of it, you drag these back and forth. Let me go here. Hold on. This is so hard to do with the. Oh yeah, it's down here. That's right. It's the bottom part. It's not super obvious how you change this. So you can change the hue, and then you can drag this part around in the middle. I've never seen a color picker like this before, so that's why I wanted to give you guys a quick preview of it. So that's fine. We'll leave that. We hit accept, and there's that. Let's see if we can find the what they say. So you got to drop the color swatch, and there's the custom preview components under the display tab. So if we go to the display tab, and we've got custom preview, I think it's this guy. Yeah, excuse me, I'm about to sneeze. No, maybe I'm not. Every time I think I'm going to sneeze, it doesn't necessarily happen. So the custom preview goes through and place them to the right of each pipe component. And I'm going to grab this. I'm going to tap Alt and have a new one. We're going to copy the color swatch so we could have a different color for each of our pipes. Now we put this in for material, just the color. I'm going to change this color too so that it's, there we go. We're going to go with purpley. And we'll hit accept for that. We're going to put the geometry right into there. We're going to put this geometry into here. And now these guys are I'm gonna not display them. Okay. And there we are. So I did say I wasn't going to show you the display part, but here we are. We did it anyway. So now the very last thing that you want to do is take these, okay, and bake them. That's where you have the little egg. And when you click on that, it creates geometry in Rhino. So if I saved this, and we'll save this file, And I'm going to put this on my desktop. And we're just going to make this, you can see down here, this is going to be, okay, bike wheel demo CAD 1 3-9-22. And I see I have a dot in the beginning of that name. I shouldn't have that. Okay, so I have that on my desktop. I'm going to hit save. And now I'm going to close the Grasshopper file. So the Grasshopper file is closed. It's not available anywhere on my desktop. And, or is it? No, wait, I still see that. Where's Grasshopper at? And what we should have here are Rhino. Let's look at Rhino. That's a closed surface. Let's hide that. Let's see what happens if we hide that. That's Control H. Yeah, we do still have, that's a closed poly surface. And we do still have that Grasshopper stuff. Where is my Grasshopper? Let's close this down. Oh, sorry, that's a another project I was working on. I forgot to shut. I don't see Grasshopper up. All right, I guess it's closed, but we have all these. That's interesting. Nope, wrong thing. All right, well, so this is what you're going to want to submit, though, is you're going to want to submit your Rhino file and your Grasshopper file. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to call this bike wheel CAD 1. You know, if I was submitting this, I would say bar B. And I would have that 3DM file. And then I would also take that Grasshopper file and submit that. So I am going to stop sharing my screen and see if anybody has any questions. Okay, no. All right, well, so that's our main, I think we might delay the Dragonfly demo until next week, because I really want to get you guys working on your rings. Oh, I'm going to stop recording now. So, but before I do, does anyone have any questions about Grasshopper? It'd be great to get them on the record so you can have those answers as part of the recorded demo. Nope. Well, if any of you are computer programmers on the side or have ever had an interest in computer programming, this is a very like a visual based programming type tool for Rhino. Okay, I'm going to stop recording. And